Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to our second, now annual panel on diversity at Informs. I'm Tessa Childers Day. I started at Amazon as a data scientist 5.5 years ago, and I now manage a team of scientists that focus on forecasting for the supply chain. We predict demand for the individual products that are sold on Amazon's website and in our physical stores, and these forecasts are used to make decisions about what to buy, when to buy it, and where to place it. These and other decisions help get our customers what they need when they need it at a great price. Today, we're going to be bringing together a panel of women to discuss innovation and diversity at Amazon. To innovate is to make changes in something established, especially by introducing new methods, ideas, or products. And diversity is defined as the condition of having or being composed of differing elements. When looking at those two definitions together, it struck me that the pace of discovery and introduction of these new ideas is certainly enriched by the existence of differing elements. And while Amazon is by no means perfect, one of the clearest ways we focus on innovation and diversity is through our leadership principles, including our commitments to think big, because we believe that in order to look around corners to serve our customers, we must avoid the self-fulfilling prophecy of thinking small, instead creating a bold direction that inspires results. We do that by thinking differently, by innovating. Moreover, we really try to focus on being right a lot, not because you have to be able to tell the future at Amazon, although I must admit it helps if you work in forecasting like I do, but because we think that by seeking diverse perspectives and actively working to disconfirm our beliefs, will improve the quality of the decisions that we all have to make on a daily basis. So I wanted to highlight a little bit some of the teams that focus on innovation in the areas of optimization that may particularly be of interest to those of you that are tuning in today. So I work in SCOT. SCOT is the Supply Chain Optimization Technologies area, and this is the organization that is behind our ability to make a promise to our customer. So every time a customer places an order on Amazon.com, we make a promise to you to deliver your item to you quickly. SCOT is the organization that backs up that promise. It's the organization that tells you that you can get you what you need when you need it and at a great price. We use advanced techniques and technologies, including machine learning and data science, to predict demand, to forecast inventory needs, and to select suppliers. Some of our other teams that are doing optimization include folks like middle mile research and optimization science. This is an area that focuses on logistics. They're charged with developing an evolving suite of decision support and optimization tools, including facilitating the design of efficient air and ground transport networks, optimizing the flow of packages within the network, efficiently aligning network capacity and shipment demand, and many other things. MOP, or Modeling and Optimization Team, is another team. They use mathematical optimization, algorithm design, statistics, and machine learning, and they improve decision-making capabilities across our operations and logistics teams, focusing on transportation topology, labor, and resource planning for our fulfillment centers. We also use optimization in our customer service teams. We use them in our Amazon robotics teams, where we make decisions about picking, packing, and shipping millions of orders a day, deciding how to dynamically rearrange our inventory for efficient retrieval, and many, many more. I'd like to take this opportunity as well to introduce all of our panelists. And so we're going to go through, and I'm going to ask each of you to tell us a little bit about how long you've been at Amazon, what you do now, and how your background has helped you to be successful. And if you don't mind, Irene, I'm going to ask you to go first.
Sure. So I've been at Amazon for around 3.5 years now, and I'm a principal product manager at Inventory Planning and Control, also known as IPC within SCOT. And as a product manager, the products that I develop and own are inventory optimization systems and models that basically decide things like how much to buy, where to place within the Amazon fulfillment network. So I naturally work very closely with business, engineering, and science. So I got my PhD in OR from Columbia, and having this background basically not only helped me work better with science, but it also gave me the confidence that when needed or when I wanted, I can get deep into science. And knowing that, I think, helped me to be successful in my role as well as to broaden my scope.
Awesome, thanks so much. Muge, would you mind telling us a little bit about your background as well?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Miguel and I've been at Amazon 13 years now. I got my PhD in operations research and chemical engineering from Carnegie Mellon, and I was really interested in joining supply chain at Amazon. And interestingly, I met with Ping, who is a part of this panel today at Informs, and I remember us talking about the culture and the science roles and how it all jives and whether or not she's using the things that she's learned during her PhD as a part of her job. And she said yes to all of those things. I ended up joining our advertising business to do OR, yield optimization, and pricing models. And after a few years, I joined our retail business as a functional leader and then moved to general management. And right now, I lead engineering, science, operations, and business, leading our last mile delivery and pickup businesses worldwide.
It's really awesome to hear that the connections that people make at Informs really actually pan out to be such long-lasting relationships at Amazon. Ozlem, do you want to go next and tell us a little bit about your journey to joining Amazon?
Yes. I have been at Amazon for 9 years now. I got my PhD from Stanford Management Science and Engineering Department, and I joined Amazon right after that. I'm a senior operations research scientist in modeling and optimization team. What I do is I work on models that optimize how shipments are delivered to customers to minimize cost and maximize speed. I write optimization models, develop algorithms and heuristics to help us decide how to fulfill the brown boxes people receive when they order something on Amazon.
That's really cool. Ping, would you mind telling us a little bit about how you came to join Amazon?
All right. Hey, everyone. Thanks for coming today. I just got in Amazon, we call the purple badge. So last month, it was my 15th anniversary Amazon. It was crazy. It's hard for me to fathom that I spend this much time here. But anyway, it still feels like exciting. There's a lot of stuff to do, interesting problems to be solved. And also, it just feels like yesterday, like, I don't know if 13 years ago or not, when Miguel and I met at Informs. Like, I didn't feel like we aged that much. We look pretty much the same. And it really just felt like yesterday. So I started, like I said, I got my PhD from the OR Center at MIT. I actually interned at Amazon and then started a number of collaborations with Amazon at the time. It's been 15 years. I would say I started at the entry level, clearly, OR scientist. I was actually in the team that Ozlem is in right now for 4 years. And then in the last 10 years, I spent a lot of time in forecasting. So really doing a lot more machine learning, but also taking the data, feeding into all the optimization problems. Today, I run 2 organizations. One is, we call this top line forecasting. Essentially, you can think of as a revenue units forecast that's being fed through many teams within the company for financial planning, labor planning, capacity planning, even marketing related planning. And so that's one organization. And the other organization is where Tessa's team's at, continue to manage the SKU level forecasting team.
Well, now that we've heard a little bit about how all of you came to Amazon and where you are now, I think it's really clear that sort of the tie that binds us all together is that we are all women in STEM at Amazon. And I think one of the really inspiring things is that as female leaders at Amazon, which is a fairly large corporation, I think the people who are tuning in are asking themselves, you know, what does it look like to work as a woman in STEM or to be a female leader here? And I think everyone on this panel is coming from a different experience and from a different place. And so I'd love to hear a little bit more about that from each of your perspectives and experiences. Muge, I thought maybe we could start with you.
Sure. Like I mentioned, my background is chemical engineering, and throughout my schooling as an engineer, female engineers were a handful and got further diminished at the PhD level. Kind of in contrast to that, I think what I love about working at Amazon as a female leader is a couple of things. First of all, there aren't any stereotypes here. We live and breathe in our leadership principles, which are about customer obsession and invention. Second, I have 2 kids, and I've had both of my kids while working at Amazon, and my significant other also works at Amazon. And there is no FaceTime here, right? If you need to leave early to pick up your kids from daycare, you do it. It's okay. If you can't come to a meeting 7:30 a.m. because you have, you know, responsibilities, you have to take your kids to school, whatever it is, it's okay. Nobody minds, not frowned upon. Nobody even cares. As long as you do your job and deliver results, you're okay. And I would say, finally, our writing culture, I think, is a huge differentiator. I feel it democratizes the process and communication. Doesn't matter what your background is. Doesn't matter if you're very charismatic or not, or a great orator. If you can write, which many of us in this room, in this Informs forum, have a lot of practice of doing that, you can get your ideas out there. Having said that, of course, numbers matter. And I think at Amazon, we've made a lot of progress in the past few years. By adding more female leaders to really senior positions. Numbers are important because women might feel their career path is unprecedented. Seeing more leaders and being mentored by them, especially ones you identify with who has been successful, tells you that you can do it too. You can see yourself at that position. And I think that's a great starting point.
I totally agree. And I'm really excited to hear Irene's perspective on this.
Sure. So as much as we want more women in the team in Amazon, STEM is still considered as a male-dominant area. Like, to give you an example, when I first joined IPC New York, my current team, I was the only woman in my team for a while. So given that, I really wanted to help and encourage more women to join STEM especially. So as a female leader at Amazon, I try to do small things, which all other female leaders are trying to do in Amazon, such as making myself available for mentorship. And we also have Amazon Women in Engineering, and we hold regular lunch and learns where the female panelists hold sessions similar to like this. So I would like to participate in those to make sure that I can be part of the people in leadership who's encouraging more women to feel more comfortable and confident to be in STEM. And also, I'm very cautious of how I present myself at work, since I want to set the right example for other female leaders to come. So as Muge mentioned, Amazon has the culture with strong emphasis on the leadership principles rather than certain gender stereotypes. And I want to make sure that none of my behaviors are tagged with gender stereotypes so that we can keep this Amazon culture where we focus on people's delivery and work rather than like who you are or what your background is, gender is.
Gotcha. Thank you. Ozlem, do you want to go next?
Yes. So I haven't worked in any company other than Amazon, so I don't have a good comparison point, but what I can say is this: we definitely need more women around us. In most meetings, I am the only woman. And I have been to some meetings in the past where people start speaking over each other, and women have to speak up, speak up to be heard and interrupt others and to make their points. But nonetheless, things are getting better. I think people are aware, now more aware that of the difficulties women are facing in the workplace. It is also now easier to find other women, other successful women leaders to look up to compared to when I first started. So I think we are moving in the right direction. I'm really excited about it.
I would agree. The presence of women and women mentorship, and even the acknowledgement that representation matters, has certainly improved over the past years.
Yes. Yeah.
Ping, would you like to go next?
Sure. You might hear some children background noise in the back. This is the end of the school. So in case you're wondering what that is. You know, as a female Amazon, I have to be honest, and most of the time, you know, we're focusing on work. I don't think twice about it, but I have to say sometimes I get into a meeting, especially a large one, I might get this reaction like, whoa, this is like my tea days. You know, clearly because of the STEM field. And then there are other times that I would get into another meeting, such as this one, and it's like all female, and you all get excited. You know, you're like, hey, that's cool. Your shoes are really cool. That's the ones when I've been wanting to buy. It feels really exciting. But the mental model I have is, you know, Amazon is a pretty large but decentralized company. I don't know if you guys heard that we have this concept of kind of a pizza team, right? You have a team that's just self-sufficient. They manage this product. They make a lot of decisions, empowered to make a lot of decisions. And so as a leader, I think a lot about how do we create a culture, especially for our own organization, that's, you know, diversity friendly, if I can call it. So, you know, I've had a female manager for more than 5 years. At some point in my career, there were 2 managers in my management chain were female, and all of us had kids. You know, I have 2 kids. I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. And so I do think it makes a difference. It's not just a representation that, you know, you're mindful that you have, you know, pickups and drop-offs and school day offs. And so, especially in COVID, being a parent is really challenging. So I think that, you know, just as a manager, showing small gestures, you know, such as, hey, you know, today it was being really tough because schools all of a sudden shut down, or, you know, finding ways to advocate more kind of larger initiatives for really work-life flexibility. So, well, I do believe that we need to get our numbers up in terms of representation STEM. I think that we also need to advocate for organizational culture that's friendly to the variety of needs that folks have, including female.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you all for talking a little bit about your general experience about being a woman in STEM or a leader at Amazon. I think a couple of folks alluded to needing representation and needing women around you to be able to look up to, but I thought it would be helpful if we talked really explicitly about the importance of mentorship in one's career. And so I was hoping that we could talk about the importance of mentorship in your career, perhaps how have other women throughout your career impacted your growth and success, or maybe when you have acted as a mentor yourself to others. And I thought we could start with Irene this time.
Yep. So having a right mentor in career for me is like having the right life coach. And I've always had at least one female mentor at any given point of time in my career. And this is like really important for me because I want to seek advice from someone I can resonate with. And at the same time, I want to get advice from the female leaders that I respect. So, for example, Ping here is actually my mentor. And since I joined Amazon, I've been going to her multiple times to seek advice on various situations. So one good example is that I am an introvert and I do not like asking questions, speaking up in large meetings, especially if it's not absolutely necessary. Especially like I did have many examples of people talking over me. So all those kind of like discourage me even more. So And I've been called out on this multiple times. So I actually talked to Ping about this and seek for advice. And what she told me is that actually there's nothing wrong with being an introvert, but what I needed is that I need to find a mechanism to make sure that my opinions are shared and my voice is heard. So I just need to find that mechanism that works for myself. And it doesn't necessarily have to be, I need to be the one who's speaking up loud in the large meetings. So given that I've advised, the mechanism I took is writing. And as Miguel said, Amazon is document and writing driven culture. So this type of the communication mechanism actually worked out very well for me and very effective and contributed to my success. I think the essence of her advice is that you do not need to force yourself to be someone else, but you need to find a mechanism that works for you to present yourself at your best. Especially working in male-dominant industry as a woman, I think it's crucial to find a mechanism to be yourself and be confident about it, because I believe you'll perform the best when you don't have to pretend to be someone else.
Yeah, I think that authenticity piece, that staying true to yourself, is really important. Otherwise, I think you might succeed, but feeling like you're spoofing someone else is probably not going to lead to longevity in your career. So that's a very sage piece of advice, I would say. Ozlem, what about you?
So my first mentor was a woman also at Amazon, and she helped me tremendously. I cannot say it highly enough. I'm also shy, and I mean I'm shy. She helped me how to speak up, how to get feedback, and how to ask for help. She made me realize that it's okay to ask for help, and things don't have to be perfect before I put things out. And she was the person I felt I could openly talk to about these things. I felt easier to open up to a woman, which I think is a common feeling shared by most junior women. This type of help, like this type of advice I got from her, is very important for work-life success. And it's easier to get it from a woman, from a mentor, compared to colleagues or a manager or just friends. That is why I highly recommend everyone to get a mentor. And I try to pay it forward. It's very important. I don't forget the help I get from her, and it's very important to help the younger generation, especially women.
Absolutely. Ping, I think we've already heard from Irene. We know that you are a mentor. Would you like to share a little bit more about mentorship you've either given or received in the past?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, great, a lot of fun having conversation with Irene. Glad I can help in any ways. I tend to think of mentorship as just, in order to be successful, really, as anybody, you need to have a support network, right? And it could be your colleague, your friends on a team, your manager, even mentor could be one of them, but also, sponsors, just general folks that will help support you to grow. And so one of the things I do enjoy doing is mentor folks. And so I kind of worked out with my EA that, I have a certain chunk on my calendar that I book out for mentorship. And more lately, I would say I've been prioritizing females, just because, we all think about how do we get the numbers up in STEM. Sure, we can try recruiting, but also like how do you help even kind of the middle layer, not even just entry layer folks, female leaders, to be even more successful. And I do really enjoy it. I find that folks come to me for, I would say, just things that could be because they feel more comfortable talking to a female. It could be their own insecurities, like, why isn't that person listening to me? Or maybe that's not really insecurity, that's a fact. But it could be that something extremely personal that they just don't feel comfortable sharing at all with somebody who's male, regardless of how just that person is. And one of, I would say, most of the recent examples, I've had somebody come in as still growing as a manager. And so, after we met a couple times for a couple quarters, She was doing really well, and she was surprisingly getting a fast promotion. So that was really exciting. So we kind of celebrate that. So overall, I would say yes. I don't know if it's mentorship, but do whatever it takes to make you feel like you're supported.
Absolutely. I think that makes a lot of sense. Okay. I think that talking about mentorship, and especially, I think that what Ping was sort of getting at is the role in retention and advancement, as well as in recruitment, is really important. And I wanted to also talk about what is like another thing that keeps people excited and happy about Amazon. And so I was curious, just in general, what is it that all of you like the best about being at Amazon, or what is it that keeps you excited about coming to work every day? And I thought we would start again with Irene this time.
Sure. So what I like the most about Amazon is ask for forgiveness, not permission culture. So basically, you're given a freedom to do what you believe is the right thing to do, which may blur the boundaries across job families and functions. And you're given an opportunity to shape your own role. So for example, I am a product manager, but I do come with the science background, but my role is not confined to just product management. I can tap into other things if I like to. So you do not need to stick to a mindset of, oh, but there hasn't been such a role before in Amazon. Actually, I had this conversation with my manager, and his response was, you should not think like day two. Amazon's still at day one, meaning I can always be the first example of something. I mean, of course, Amazon has ownership, like has strong focus on ownership to make sure there's a balance between freedom and responsibility. But the fact that there is an opportunity to shape my own role that fits who I am excites me the most.
Absolutely. I think it's pretty common when someone new starts for them to ask, like, what's your one piece of advice? And I always say, at Amazon, very few people are going to ask you to do something, like step in and do it. And I think that's sort of what you're getting at with the ask forgiveness, not permission. Like lean in. And I think you're less likely to get in trouble for doing something than you are for not doing something. Like it's more important to get out there and do it. Ozlem, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you like the most about Amazon and what you're most excited about here?
Yes, sure. What I like most about Amazon is that what I do at Amazon has an impact. I see my models being used and they are making a difference, and that's hugely satisfying. And I learn something every day. The learning opportunities are endless. I get to work with smart and passionate people. And like Miguel mentioned before, as long as one of our leadership principles is deliver results, and workplace flexibility is a huge plus for me. As long as I do what I'm supposed to do, it doesn't matter whether I come to work at 8 or 10.
Absolutely. I think it's that combination of learn and be curious and delivery, right? You have the opportunity and the invitation to just keep learning, and it's very exciting. Ping, what excites you? I think you're the longest tenured member of our panel. So what keeps you excited and staying at Amazon for 15 years now?
Yeah, it's crazy to think about that time. Of course, sometimes I do wake up and kind of like, wait a minute, what am I doing here? It's been so long. Can I go somewhere else? But you get over it in a sense that I think intellectually speaking, and I'm sure everyone here has that point of view, is we all want to go to a place, there are interesting problems to solve, there are talented people to work with, and there's a community that you can bounce ideas off that can support each other. So those are obviously kind of things you tick off. But I would say, broadly speaking, for Amazon, the top two things on my list is one is I'm calling empowerment. Just like folks here before me said, the sense that you feel like you can drive what you believe is the right thing to do. And it doesn't matter. Nobody's going to say, hey, so-and-so, you can't do this because you're only level X. You're not the right level. or you can't do this because you're in this organization but not the other organization. It doesn't happen that way. You can feel empowered to drive the things that you want to drive. And I think that's really important. And two is, I do think innovation is important, but still very important for, I think, this very scientific-minded folks, because science is really about experiments, right? And I think if you look at how Jeff B talks about it, in terms of the culture of experimentation, the willingness to try things and fail is very much in the culture of the Amazon. And I think that's also very important to the scientists.
Absolutely. I think that scientific mindset is present at all levels within Amazon, which I think is really exciting. When you see our directors and our vice presidents and our senior vice presidents being just as excited about the innovation and the experimentation as our entry level folks who just got their PhDs, I think it really permeates all levels, which is very exciting. Muge, what about you?
Well, Ping, Ozlem, and Irene covered a lot of the great things that make us stay here for really long years, more than a decade, right? For me and Ping now. I think in addition to that, for me, I'm most excited about solving hard problems. It's one of my favorite things about working here. And I also love that no matter what your background is, as long as you're curious and passionate and obsessed with innovation, you can do anything. You can be anything here. There's just no boredom. And I think I'm a good example of that. I joined as a research scientist to create mathematical models and, tested out different things, tried different things. And I realized that my passion is on the business side, and I'm now running really large businesses and creating big impact for our customers. So, among many things, I think those two are the key ones for me.
Yeah, I think that sort of takes us full circle, because I think Ozlem was talking about impact as well, and that's always like a big thing, I think, for a lot of scientists that end up at Amazon, right? Is that feeling of like, yes, I know the theory, but I'm getting to put it into practice and see the impact on our customers at the end of the day. And that's a really exciting feeling. So speaking sort of to the audience of folks that may be listening in, I'm curious if any of you can speak to your experience working with interns at Amazon. We have a fairly strong culture of internship at Amazon. So I'm curious if you can either talk about working with interns at Amazon, or if you could go back to when you were a student, maybe what would you tell yourself? And Muge, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I love working with interns. We have had many interns in, oh, that's my dog, sorry. Many interns in last mile. And many of them have gone on to be successful in full-time roles at Amazon. There are many intern projects that go on to become the foundation of something that becomes a core part of how we operate. Learn and be curious, like we've talked about, embrace your project, be an owner and be you. When interning at a company like Amazon, there's so much to learn. It can feel overwhelming. However, I think remembering that no one expects you to know everything on day one is important. Just kind of going to your question as to what advice do you have. My dog really wants to go out of my office right now. But it's, research a lot. There are tons of good resources here. Number two would be keep asking questions. Your teammates would have had to learn many of the same things you are learning. And we love hearing those fresh perspectives from the interns. Number three, own your project. I think Ozlem was talking about this a lot, right? Like, while you may specialize in a particular area, here you're empowered to think holistically and provide feedback and ideas, whether you're an intern or a full-time employee or a director or a VP here. We love seeing this type of ownership in our interns. So embrace your project, make it yours, have an impact on the customer experience.
Absolutely. Ozlem, do you have any experience working with interns you'd like to talk about?
Well, I really like working with interns because they bring fresh perspectives to the table. They make you realize something you might have forgotten or teach you a new method. So I really like working with the new interns that come to Amazon. My advice, in general advice to interns is to, when they come here or to any company, I would advise them to meet as many people as they can, form those relationships, and those relationships would, those meetings would help them discover what's out on the field, and they would help them discover what they are passionate about. And if possible, I would advise them to do as many internships as their studies allow them to. Each company is different, and internship is a time to explore.
Awesome. Okay. So we also have a couple of pre-submitted questions that we're going to be talking through. So the first one says, what is new and exciting in optimization at Amazon? And how can you overcome barriers to be successful? And we're going to ask Muge to answer this to start.
Okay, so like I mentioned, I am in our last mile delivery space, which is relatively new for Amazon. Amazon Flex, which is one of my programs, was launched 5 years ago. And one of the things that we're trying to do is to achieve really fast, we call it ultra fast grocery deliveries. Or even for your regular Amazon.com deliveries, the brown box deliveries, of getting the speed to be faster and faster so that we can get the product to customer at really fast speeds. And so that, of course, opens up different opportunities in optimization. I think one of them is unique and unparalleled of constraints in solving for capacity. We need to figure out, we need to secure delivery partner or driver capacity to be able to go and pick up the packages. And it's ultra fast, and you have very tight window of speed. So if you shopped at Prime Now, you could order and you could actually get that product in 45 minutes, which is really tight. And we have another constraint, which is lowest cost. So it's a really hard problem, but it's fun. I think that is one. Adding to what I just said, the factor that we do work with independent contractors. So it's that fourth dimension increases the complexity of the optimization problem even more, because now you have kind of this labor force where, it's take it or leave it type of option. They don't have to work for us. They don't have to take that, particular delivery opportunity. I think that's another one that's we've been, working on quite a bit. I think the other part, and this applies for anywhere at Amazon, is we're so dynamic, right? Like one day we're trying to solve this problem, and then the next day that problem evolves to be something different. So like I mentioned before, just no boredom. It's never static. You're always going to be adding to the models that you have, or you're going to be moving to solving a completely different set of problems.
Absolutely true. Okay, Ozlem, what about you? What is it that you're finding new and exciting at Amazon, and how are you overcoming barriers to be successful?
What I see around me lately is like new advances in optimization is just availability of data. It's so much easier to get data now, so much easier to store data, and this opens up many opportunities to analyze and use it in many ways that wasn't possible before, including machine learning and different types of optimization models. And that's my 2 cents.
Absolutely. Ping, how about you?
Yeah, I think you had 2 questions. Maybe let me ask the first one is really about what's exciting in optimization. I think my career is a little, I don't know if it's different, but it's not a little bit non-linear, perhaps like Miguels. But I started as what we call an OR scientist within Amazon. And then in the past 10 years, I've been really working on forecasting, so spending a lot of time with statisticians and machine learning scientists. And so somewhat exciting stuff that I see is, I'm calling it kind of the integration of OR and ML. And what I really see that is, you know, you have typical these OR models is you have trying to approximate, use mathematics, approximate the real world. And you're trying to solve that problem exactly. So solve an exact problem of an approximate problem. And then you have ML, which is very much data driven. You know you're going to try to solve an approximately, but you're trying to solve an exact problem because you have all these historical data. Anyway, the contrast is interesting. But here's an example, kind of how we think about the integration too. So in our business, that we do this scalar forecasting. We produce a probabilistic forecast for 500 million items for the next 1 year at the weekly grain. And then that data is passed through to really essentially an optimization system to make supply chain decisions about purchasing, about placement, about return to vendor, liquidation. And what we found and being asking ourselves is that, well, that's great. Each of these problems are really hard, but can we even do better by solving a one problem? So instead of doing the two-step of here's a prediction and then here's an optimization, can we do the whole thing? So we are actually looking at deep reinforcement learning, trying to essentially use ML to see if we can solve this curse of dimensionality in these large dynamic programs. So that would just be one example, but I think it's super exciting that there's just tons of opportunity, exciting problems here.
Absolutely. And I think that that's sort of one of the overarching themes that we've been talking about. As we've been talking about what keeps us here, what's exciting, what's new, has absolutely been sort of the innovation piece at Amazon. And so, like, I just want to thank everybody. I want to thank our panelists, and I also want to thank all of you who have given us, some of your time today to listen in to our discussion. For more information, or if you'd like to learn about any opportunities at Amazon, you can reach out to us at informs2020@amazon.com. And you can also visit amazon.science to stay up to date on recent news and announcements. That's amazon.science, amazon.science. And there's a great landing page there that talks about all of our different science programs. So thanks again for joining us, and have a great morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time it is that you're viewing this video. Thanks again.
Thank you, Tessa, for moderating. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.